Vice President Harris touching down in Guatemala yesterday, kicking off a trip through Central America to address what her office is calling the root causes of the crisis down at the southern border. But critics say she's not going far enough, urging her to witness the crisis at the border firsthand. Fox Nation host Lara Logan just spent a week covering this crisis, and she joins us now. Good morning to you, Lara.
Good morning.
Good morning. Where did you go down on the border, and what did you see?
Well, I was down in the Rio Grande Valley area, which is in Texas, and we went all over because I was with the Texas Department of Public Safety, and so some of the time was in the air, a lot of the time on the ground, and we were out day and night. So all through the valley out to Roma, which is one of the biggest smuggling corridors. That's the video that you're looking at right there was filmed in Roma late at night, and that was just quite extraordinary to see that even the smuggler was not concerned about agents from Texas Department of Public Safety and Border Patrol agents being right there on the riverbank. It's just so common now, and everybody knows the game. You know, come over, hand yourself over if you have a shot of getting in the country, and otherwise, you know, hit one of the other areas and just run for your life, because no one's going to enforce the law for minor immigration violations. So the only real problem here is criminal activity. And there's so many places, the border is so wide open in all the areas where there is no border wall and there's very little coverage, that it was just it was almost shocking to see that there really is an open border. And this administration is not talking about it or even acknowledging it.
Was that the biggest change you saw? The number of people coming through, or was it the fact that these smugglers are just letting you film them and they're not getting arrested? They're not getting, nothing's happening to them.
You know, the biggest change that I saw was hearing from agents all along the border, from every different kind of agency, that they've never seen anything in their lifetimes like they're seeing now, because the numbers are up on every single part of the border. And perhaps, and that's never happened before. There's always, you know, there have been a number of crises that have come and gone. But in all of those situations, the administration in Washington has acknowledged that there's a crisis and has taken action to mitigate what is happening. That is not happening here. In fact, the only action that has been taken has been to create the crisis. So it's not that there's a lack of policy, it's that the policy is to open the border. And it's not that there's a failure of action. The action has been to open the border and obliterate immigration law and to prevent law enforcement from enforcing it. So Texas has stepped in the breach here, so has Arizona and New Mexico. But there's just millions and millions and millions of dollars that are being spent. The Biden administration is spending it on immigrants, and that has left national security and security up to the states. So Texas is filling that gap. And that's what really, you know, Texas has filled in temporarily before, but there's always been some kind of acknowledgement from Washington that you are in the midst of a crisis. And what Kamala Harris has not done as so-called border czar, she hasn't spoken to the people who are living on the border in any of these states. She hasn't been down and visited any of these communities. She hasn't acknowledged any of these problems. She hasn't spoken to the who literally have got, you know, they're just like a highway of illegal immigrants who are trying to avoid the law. I mean, we're talking about areas, you know, where there's never been people coming through. I mean, that have got 300–400% increase in the number of people that are coming over. And so that's a shock. And this is being felt in the communities because you have car chases and you have bailouts where people know that they're caught, and so they just, you know, bail out in the middle of the street. And people, you know, this is putting people at risk. There's a rise in crime. Even where I am, you know, I'm far from north of the border, and there's been a massive increase in crime in small towns in the countryside. So this is a real issue that is not being addressed by this administration. And that has never been the case in living memory from anyone I've spoken to.
Almost a 1,400% increase in sexual offenders in the Del Rio sector, Griff Jenkins was telling us earlier. And he interviewed one rancher who said he feels completely abandoned by this administration. They are down there in the Triangle countries, but they're not dealing with Americans on that side of the border. Lara, thanks for going down there for us and reporting this story. We appreciate it.
Also, Ainsley, there's
Yes.
people coming from 120 countries. 120 countries. Kamala Harris, is she going to address immigration problems and root causes in all of those countries? The whole world is coming to America right now and coming over the border and disappearing. We don't even know who they are. And this administration has done everything. They've put this in place deliberately.
Lara, thank you so much. Lara Logan.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.